Hi, and welcome to the next presentation. My name is Christer Linde. I'm Global Head of Research for ABG Sundal Collier. And we have the pleasure to have Renewcell with us today. We have Hugo Petit, which is the CFO, which will present the company, around 20 minutes presentation, followed by Q&A. So Hugo, the floor is yours, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Hugo Petit. I'm the CFO at Renewcell since May this year. You can move to the next slide. Just to give you some background, you can see the picture on the left side. It looks like a desert, but it has been a lake. It's the Aral, or the former Aral Lake, which was, I think, the fourth largest lake in the world. That completely disappeared, actually, because of the fact that the water from the lake was redirected in order to feed the cotton plantages in mainly Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. To give you some examples, a pair of jeans costs around 10,000 liters of water. And if you look at polyester, for example, in clothes, it's contributing with around 35% of all ocean microplastics. Also, every year, more than 200 million trees are cut down in order to make viscose. Next slide, please. Okay. So if you look at the need of textiles, 2019, the volume was estimated at around 110 million tons. And the prediction is that will increase to around 230 in 2030 to around 160 million tons. And the reason is that during this period, around 1.7 billion people will enter the middle class. And as you all know, for many people, the way you dress is very important and reflects what you reflects your values, and it's very important that you can express in the way you want. And especially middle class has a need for this. So we expect the need for textiles to increase significantly then. And you can go to the next exhibit. So we have a huge problem, and also you can see that many of the large brands have already committed themselves in becoming more sustainable. Hennes & Mauritz believes that they will be 100% or use 100% recycled by 2030. Patagonia, all in all the brands have committed themselves to become more sustainable, but so far, it's still a question mark how this can be solved. So if you go to the next slide. If you look at this exhibit, of course, everybody is aware of the fact that the conventional textiles have their issues. But also, if you look at more sustainable fibers, like, for example, recycled polyester, they still imply a significant impact on the environment. For example, if you reuse a plastic bottle and make it into fabrics, you will accelerate the fact that they contribute to the microplastics in the oceans. And also, if you have painted colored polyester once, you can't change the color, so it's not really reusable. If you look at organic cottons, they still use a lot of water. And again, if you look at the viscose based options, they require that trees are still cut down because they can't 100% recycle these fibers. And that is, of course, a risk for brands. Of course, the brand value might decrease. They will have issues in financing, and also regulation will force them to adapt. So there really needs to be we really need to have a new or a better solution. We can go to the next exhibit. And here again, this is Greta, who really emphasizes that we need change now. Again, the 1.7 billion people that join the middle class will have a significant effect on the need for a sustainable solution. You can go to the next exhibit. So in here, Renewcell comes in. So until now, the textile industry has been linear, meaning that virgin fibers are used, made into clothes, and then, well, to a very, very large extent, they have been, when they have been used, become landfill or burned. Renewcell has developed a solution actually to reuse cellulosic fibers, making it possible for the whole value chain to become circular. And move to the next. So the invention, Renewcell was founded by two professors from the Royal Institute of Technology here in Stockholm, and they have, well, most of their career developed or focused their research on the paper and pulp industry, but they invented a way to reuse fibers. And the way it works is as shown here. We put textile waste into a shredding stage. So we make the textile into small pieces, and then we have a chemical process where we bleach and also make the textiles into the pulp. After that, we dewater it, dry it, and then we have small, what do you call it? Small, like sheets with our pulp. I can mention that the chemical process consists of a couple of stages, but the chemicals that are used are the same as used in traditional paper and pulp industry. So no special chemistry is needed. You can move to the next slide. Just to give you an impression, when we compare the Circulose is the brand that we use for the recycled pulp or fiber. If you compare that to other traditional fabrics, you can see that we actually have a negative impact. And this is done this is a study that was done through Stella McCartney. So it's not Renewcell that has ordered the study, important to know, to emphasize. So if you compare the net impact, the coal dioxide impact, we have a negative impact compared to plastic, cotton, and viscose. And also, if you look at the water usage, we have very little need for water. And of course, especially compared to cotton, it's a huge difference. And when you look at the other areas, we have no impact because we don't need to use land. We don't use pesticides, and we have no microplastic pollution impact. You can move to the next. So, and this is where everything is going to happen. As you might know, we have raised money and also have a couple of loan facilities available in order to build our large commercial factory in Sundsvall. And why Sundsvall? That's mainly because the site we use is a former SCA site, so it's a brownfield location. We were able to use a lot of infrastructure and facilities that SCA has, and now our building is the building in the front closest to the water on the lower left side, and also SCA is investing around 1.5 billion in the site as well. It's also due to the fact that SCA has had a very large paper and pulp factory here. We have a harbor very close, so we will be able to, in a very efficient way, have inbound and outbound logistics. All the electricity that we use is coming from water, and the heat or the steam is produced by burning bark. So also this is green steam. So we have started to build. We have taken over the property that we need, and now currently we are doing making the initial preparations in order to start the mounting of the equipment that will come during fall. And the aim is to finish commissioning by the end of the first half year of 2022. Yes, you can move to the next. Just to give you an idea of the unit economics, the signal is somewhat disappearing. I hope you can follow. If you look on the right side of the exhibit, you can see that the sales price we have agreed is around $1,200 US per ton. We estimate the cost for the raw material to around 220, can be lower as well. And then we estimate the COGS and OPEX needed to produce our pulp at around 460, which means that we estimate a margin, a gross margin of around $520 US per ton, which equals around 43% of margin. This estimate or this calculation is based on a plan of 120,000 tons. And you need to keep in mind that the initial size or the initial capacity of the site will be 60,000 tons. If you then look on the left side of the exhibit, we sell our pulp for $1,200, and then we have customers that turn this into fiber, and doing this will add around $900 to $1,000 US per ton, meaning that the fiber price of our circulose will be around 2,200, which is, when you compare it to the other sustainable brands or fibers, a pretty low price. So all in all, we believe that we have possibility to increase the profitability, but given the fact that we have such good margins, we think it's more important to create a pool for a product and to, as fast as possible, reach higher market share. So it's the growth that is the most important, and not to optimize our margins, given the fact that we have a very nice margin. Yes, you can move on. Here are some of our financial or our targets. So we aim by 2026 to have a production capacity of around 250,000 ton. and an EBITDA margin of around 30, and an equity ratio of 50. And we hopefully have launched with about 20 global brands with our own brand, Circulose. And then if we look at 2030, we hope to increase to 360,000 tons and exceed the 30% EBITDA margin, and also the equity ratio above 50%. And we hope to have launched with 30 global brands by then. Just to give you an idea, that if you look at the size that we have as a target of our capacity of 250 and 360 tons, if you remember the size of the total market, and of course not the full market is completely addressable for us, but given the total market size, this is still these volumes are still quite low. Yes, you can move to the next. A little bit more about the financing of the project or the company. If we start on the upper left side, the sources and uses, as I mentioned, we raised equity, 800 million during the IPO of the company at the end of 2020. And then we have agreed on a loan facility with, it's a Finnvera, a backed loan facility by Svenska Exportkredit and Nordea of 409. And we have an agreement with EIB on a loan facility of 311. These numbers add up to 1.520 million. So here there is a buffer of 20 million because there is some flexibility in these agreements. So, but the total amount of capital raised, including the loan facilities, is 1.5. Of these, we believe 870 will be used for building the actual facility. Keep in mind it includes a reserve of around 113 million. And then we believe there is a need for covering the OPEX of 220. And then we have other operations that will require 160. And then we have a 250 million left as an additional buffer. I forgot to mention that in the 220 we have a buffer as well here of around 100 million. So all in all, we have a buffer of around 460 million SEK. The first two ones, the 130 and 100, are easy to access. The 250, the last reserve, are more difficult to access. Nevertheless, we have significant buffers. Looking a little bit at the risks, there are of course significant risks related to a project like this, but I think we have been able to mitigate many of them. First of all, we have a very experienced team with people that have built these type of factories before. Also, we use we were establishing the plant in a brown brown facility, so we don't need to build the property ourselves, which also is very often a main reason for delays and increased costs. Thirdly, we use a lot of standard equipment. So I would say 80-90% of the equipment we buy is standard equipment. So it will be easy for us to have specialists that can help to find them to help us installing and serving and so forth. And of course, last but not least, we have these financial reserves as well. And the environmental permit risk, of course, but we have received the permit as we have, as you might have read. That was actually the beginning of July this year. If we look at the right side of the exhibit, we will come and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about this. But in general, we have a timetable that estimates that we will finish the commissioning by the end of the second quarter 2022. And until now, we follow that plan very well, and we do not foresee any significant delays. Okay, we can move to the next exhibit. I think we stay here. I think this is a short, brief summary. So again, there is a massive need for circular fashion. Renewcell has a commercially proven solution, and what we try to do is to invest to be able to, as soon as possible, scale up our capacity. So now my 20 minutes are over. So I suggest that I open up for questions.
Thank you, Hugo, and thank you for a very interesting presentation. And I start off, you mentioned that by 2025 you will have target to have 20 global brands. I don't know if you can disclose how many brands you have today that you cooperate with, and also when you work together with them, what type of clothes are used mostly for your Circulose product?
We work with a lot of brands, and there are a lot of brands that we actually need to reject because we do not have the resources to cooperate with all the brands. So we have our own short list that we work with. We work, among others, with of course H&M. We work together with Levi's. We work together with Bestseller, so Vera Moda, Kapal have launched with our Circulose. Now I partially answered your question, I think.
Yes, you answered that. So I mean, you're on a good track. If you continue with this Circulose, the product that comes out of your factories, how do you work together with the global brands when it comes to marketing this Circulose? I mean, most of the consumers today want to know what kind of content is included in food or clothes. So it would be interesting to hear a bit about how you develop the brand together with them.
Yeah, well, so we have our guidelines. So in order to have on a label that it's a piece of clothes is produced with Circulose, it needs to exceed 50%. So it needs to contain 50% at least of Circulose. The way we work with brands is, I mean, you can use Circulose for more or less all type of clothes, and it's of course very dependent on how you make the yarn and how you create the fibers and stuff like that. But in principle, you can use Circulose for any clothes, and that's also the reason why we cooperate with all type of brands. So we work together with the big brands like Hennes & Mauritz that have the large volumes, but we also cooperate with brands that are more focused on luxury clothes in order to show that we can or that Circulose can be used in clothes with luxury brands, with high quality and low volume brands.
Okay, thank you for that. Over to this new plant that you're working on in Ortviken, Sundsvall. You mentioned that will be H2 2022. It will be up for production. Is there any data points we can follow when we know that is on track? And Also, by 2020, will it be full capacity from day one, or will it a gradual ramp up of capacity to the 60,000 tons?
Yes, it will be a gradual ramp up, of course. Of course, yes, it's a gradually ramp up, and that's because, of course, in a new site, we need to trim or optimize the different production windows depending on the different feedstocks that we use. So that will take time. So the second half year we will most likely not produce at our intended capacity. And in order for you to follow, we have in our latest quarterly report, we show a table that gives an idea on the different milestones. And of course, these are not financial milestones, but project milestones that we will report on going forward. So that's a way to follow the progress.
Thank you. I have a last question then. Renewcell, can you, with a short sentence, maybe explain how unique you are as a company? Do you have real competitors out there with this kind of technology that is developed, or are you a true unique company?
Yeah, there are some competitors, of course, but there is so far no competitor that is actually able to do what we can. And what I mean with that is that we can use 100% recycled textiles for producing our circulose. So we have competitors like Södra, for example, is in the industry, but they use tree fibers, but they always need to add virgin fibers in order to recycle their fibers.
Thank you, Hugo. I have many more questions, but we don't have the time. But it will be very interesting to follow the journey, and also how it will be with the new plant in Sundsvall. So thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you yourself.